This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. I'm going to do things a little differently with this video. I'm going to talk about a guy who was just sentenced, convicted of a crime related to voter fraud, who sent in a ballot for his deceased wife. She had been dead for like 3 years almost. Voted for Donald Trump in Nevada. And I'm gonna show you first. I want you to remember Crystal Mason, black woman in Texas, sentenced to 5 years in prison for casting a provisional ballot when she wasn't sure, but she thought she could vote. Ended up not being the case, but it wasn't fraudulent. It was a mistake. Thought she was able to because she thought that the conditions of her release from her prison sentence allowed her to vote. She was incorrect, but there wasn't ill intent to commit voter fraud. Still, no matter. Black woman, 5 years in prison. Donald Kirk Hartle just got probation for not just casting his own ballot and not being sure whether he could, but for sending in, his wife was still on the voter rolls, sending in her absentee ballot, signing her absentee ballot, casting her ballot for Donald Trump. Probation. On November 10th, 2020, the Nevada GOP tweeted this: disbelief and sickening. That's how Kirk Hartle feels about someone voting in his deceased wife's name. How did the forged signature pass Clark County, Nevada's signature verification machine? And this isn't the only case of a deceased person voting in Nevada. This is also a case that Matt Schlapp talked about the hundreds of people in Nevada, the dead people in Nevada who voted. I'm going to play this short news clip for you because I want you to watch the sincerity on this Kirk Hartle's face. Listen to his story. And I want you to hold that in your mind as you remember all of the cases that you've seen and maybe into the future that you'll see and view them with a little bit of doubt and suspicion. Because the man that you're going to watch in this news package as they talk about this case that, oh my God, my dead wife voted. Someone voted for her. What? This is a violation, a disbelief. It's sickening. He uses these words. Watch, because knowing that this is the guy who was just convicted and put on probation, not 5 years. White guy McGee gets probation. But watch this news package from back in November of 2020, and then we'll talk about the sentence.
Now, one of those cases involved a woman who died in 2017. The I-Team's David Charnes looking into that. And David, you talked to this woman's husband.
Kirk Hartle's wife, Rosemary, who passed away 3 years ago. She is one of 2 cases of somebody who died on Clark County's voter rolls. They were sent a mail-in ballot, and that ballot was returned. The question now is, though, who voted for her?
It was disbelief. Just it made no sense to me.
Kirk Hartle said he was surprised when he found out his wife, who died in 2017, had sent in a mail-in ballot.
I was surprised because she passed away 3 years ago. I was surprised to even get that.
Rosemary Hartle died at 52 from breast cancer. Her name is still on Clark County's voter rolls, and since everyone in those rolls got a ballot, one was sent to Rosemary. But Kirk says a ballot never got to his house.
That is pretty sickening to me, to be honest with you.
According to ballot tracks, the mail-in ballot was sent October 9th and returned the day before Election Day. Clark County officials say Rosemary's signature is a match to what's on their records. Registrar for Elections Joe Gloria says any illegal activity will be flagged. Now Keith Hartle wonders who took advantage of his grief, adding he's surprised his wife received a ballot at all.
It certainly brings up a lot of discomfort. There's a pretty exhaustive process that you go through when someone passes.
Convincing. Emotion invoking, even. Remember, this was in the wake of Donald Trump's loss last year. that there was widespread voter fraud, especially in Nevada. Nevada is one of those states that Donald Trump lost that he claims to have won overwhelmingly in a landslide. And the dead people voting thing was something that was a drumbeat they were hitting over and over and over. Same with voter fraud. And it turns out the cases, largely the cases that we see, the cases that we've found, happen to be for Donald Trump. People trying to vote fraudulently for Donald Trump. Even this Kirk Hartle guy. I'm going to read from this the Channel 8 CBS affiliate in Las Vegas who did an article about this. Nevada man who voted twice using dead wife's ballot sentenced to probation and fined $2,000. Donald Kirk Hartle accepts plea deal, avoiding jail time. So, no 5-year sentence for white guy Kirk Hartle. Disgusting. I'll just read the article here. A judge on Tuesday sentenced a Las Vegas man to probation on a charge he voted twice in the 2020 election by mailing in his deceased wife's ballot. The I-Team, every local news has an I-Team. The I-Team was first to report that Donald Kirk Hartle, 55, was facing 2 charges related to last year's election. In court Tuesday, Hartle pleaded guilty to 1 charge of voting more than once in the same election. Hartle appeared virtually in court with his attorney. Hartle reached a deal with prosecutors to avoid prison time. Judge Carly Kearney also fined Hartle $2,000 as part of his plea agreement. The original Category D felony carried a maximum prison sentence of 4 years. Yeah, so why give him any prison time? The Republican Party acts as though voter fraud is an existential threat to our republic. An absolute devastating effect on our democracy. Yet, you don't hear them saying, what? Probation? No, this is too big a threat to only give probation to this man. You don't hear that because he did it in service to Donald Trump. And they don't care by what means they win elections. They just want to win. Ultimately, to me, this seems like a cheap political stunt that kind of backfired and shows that our voting system actually works because you were ultimately caught, Kearney told Hartle in court. The charges came after an investigation from the Secretary of State's office, which looks into any voter fraud allegations in connection with the Nevada Attorney General's office. Rosemary Hartle of Las Vegas died in 2017 at the age of 52 from breast cancer, Kirk Hartle told the I-Team last November. A ballot for Rosemary was issued in October of 2020 and later received by the county. But Kirk said the ballot never came to his house. But Kirk lied and said the ballot never came to his house. We'll correct the milquetoast reporting here. The I-Team found even though Rosemary died in 2017, her name appeared on an active voter list. Happens all the time. I would like to say that I accept full responsibility for my actions and regret them, and I'm thankful for your consideration, Kirk Hartle told the judge Tuesday. Thanks for going easy on this white guy. Judge Kearney, I'm white. I got a good job. Why should I face any consequence? I'm no Crystal Mason. If Kirk Hartle stays out of trouble for a year, he'll be able to withdraw his plea and instead plead guilty to a charge of conspiracy to commit voting more than once in the same election, which is a misdemeanor. Yeah. Rosemary Hartle's ballot was one of 2 cited by Nevada Republicans and National Party leaders as evidence of voter fraud in Nevada. Though rare, voter fraud can undercut trust in our election system, Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford said in a statement. This particular case of voter fraud was particularly egregious because the offender continually spread inaccurate information about our elections, despite being the source of fraud himself. I am glad to see Mr. Hartle being held accountable for his actions, and I want to stress that our office will pursue any credible allegations of fraud. Is he really being held accountable, though? Probation, $2,000 fine, and for what it's worth, Hartle is the chief financial officer at Ahern Rentals, which hosted a rally for former ex-president Donald Trump last September, and was cited for violating coronavirus protocols. The umbrella company hosted a QAnon conference in October at the Ahern Hotel off the Las Vegas Strip. I just like to get the companies on the record in case you live there and, you have a choice of where to spend your hard-earned dollars. Ahern Rentals, Ahern Hotel. You could choose to do with that information as you will relative to how you spend your money. And then finally, audits and lawsuits filed in states, including Nevada, found no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Again, for those of you in the back of the room who might be here to troll, no evidence of widespread voter fraud. None. Zero. Zilch. But the isolated cases that we identify tend to go one way, and that's Donald Trump's. Kirk Hartle, the man who cried the crocodile tears, metaphorically speaking, whining to the press, sowing discontent about the election security that we have in this country, was actually the perpetrator. He gets probation. Black woman, Crystal Mason, gets 5 years in prison. She cast her own ballot. He cast someone else's ballot. But no, there's no systemic racism in this country. No, who would think that? What would give you that idea? Absolutely disgusting. The double standard is clear, and they deny it. I'd love to know what you think, though. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I'm going into what I say on my podcast. And I would invite you to follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore all the way across the board, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And if I bring you value and there's not someone else out there that you enjoy more or get more from, but if I'm your particular flavor of political commentator, I would ask that you consider supporting my work here on the platform. For as little as $1.99 a month, you can click the join button below this video, become a channel member, or you can head on over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt and help support my work there. That's not just for the podcast. It's also for the YouTube videos. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, you should do that. It's a twice a week, more in-depth breakdown with my lovely and talented scholarly co-host, Brittany Page. It is a good time, and it is something to which you should subscribe. I will see you next time. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Be genuine. Take care of one another.